Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Spitball Media Podcast. This is where we talk about the top entertainment stories of the week. Shaheen, happy November. Oh my God, Shah, it's November.
Dude, it feels like it. It is freezing here. I don't know what happened. Dude, we were in the 80s and the next day it feels like snow is. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, it's absolutely freezing, but by me too. Shah, we should point out that Bisho O'Brien is not going to be with us tonight. He is on assignment. He is recovering from a lot of Halloween candy.
I am too. I wish you could see my table. I got this is the only time of the year where I wish I had a kid. You know what I mean? Because I just want to rob the candy. But yeah, man. I mean, I got a bunch of candy. I don't know about you, man. I don't know how many trick-or-treaters you had this year. I had a decent amount this year. I don't know what happened.
I had a little bit more than last year, which was for shit, but nowhere near what I used to have. My in-laws in Brooklyn gave out 1,000 pieces of candy from 5 to 7 and then had to shut the house down because they ran out of candy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Hey, listen, people, my name is John Draper. And if you're joining us for the first time, normally myself, Shaheen, and the king of the Midwest, Mr. Bisho O'Brien himself, we spit out these top stories. But if you're listening to us on the free, you really want to consider possibly going to patreon.com/Spitball Media for just $5 a month, because you get hundreds of hours of premium entertainment for just $5 a month. Shah, just $5 a month.
Absolutely nothing, man. $5 a month is a coffee nowadays. So
is it?
It's pretty. I mean, if you go to Starbucks, if you go to Panera, it depends on where you go. Even if you go to Wawa nowadays, like shitty gas stations, is like $253, bro.
Is it really? God damn. Well, for $5 a month with us, you get hundreds of hours of premium quality entertainment going all the way back to our first show many, many moons ago. You get exclusive content, and you get a bonus show, like a mini show, each and every freaking week. Ain't that right, Shah?
Yes, sir. We just did one on Halloween, which you should definitely check out.
Yes.
Probably going to be my favorite episode of the year as far as the Patreon episodes, just because I love Halloween talk and horror talk. And all we did was essentially give recommendations and what we're watching and what we think suits Halloween best. And we actually had some nice discussions about like what type of movies are good to play during Halloween, because it's one of those things you can't just play any horror movie. We kind of discussed it, but you can't play like an A24 horror movie on Halloween. So we gave some good recommendations.
Yeah, the classics. We did a lot of the classics. And of course, the only way to hear that is by going to patreon.com/Spitball Media. $5 a month. Thank you to the many people in the Patreon who've been keeping the lights on in this place. We hope you're enjoying your bonus content. Now, Shah, do we got the link out? Should I get that link out in Twitter for the show there?
Yeah, we can. You mean for the live show right now?
Yeah, for the live show. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it up. You talk. Let me.
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about my Halloween experience. So basically over the weekend, so we had the big weekend Saturday, and it was about 70 plus degrees where I live in upstate New York. And I had an Oktoberfest party on my block. Like, it was like people were dressed up in like German clothes, but not the bad kind, Shah, the traditional kind, not the bad German kind. If you know what I mean.
We're talking
about like the shorts and the shirts with the hats, and they did keg tosses. There was a keg tossing, which I partaked in. I didn't do very good. I did okay. It's not really my thing. And they had nothing but German authentic food. They had Das Boot that you could drink out of. I took it easy. I did not get Frank the Tank at this. I actually took this quite easy because I knew, I didn't want to. It was early. It was like kind of like 2:00 it started. And then something happened, Shah. It went from 74 or 75 degrees and sunny to about 38 degrees with the wind, like a wind tunnel, just shooting the fuck out all over the place, to the point where it was just too cold by 7 or 8 o'clock to be outside, dude. It was madness.
Yeah, I drank way too much Halloween night, to the point, like, honestly, dude, I still haven't fully recovered from Halloween. No, I'm serious. Like, I drank a disgusting amount of tequila. We went to a Halloween boat party, and the vibe was real nice until I went batshit crazy and ruined the whole night. But one night we won't get
we call that Frank the Tank. You get all Frank the Tanked out. That's what we used to call it.
Yeah, I turned into Frank the Hummer. It was not fun.
Well, well, let me tell you, there was a lot of people probably Saturday night, the Saturday before Halloween, getting Frank the Tank out. I spent the weekend drinking, taking edibles, and of course, watching a lot of horror movies, which I'm sure a lot of people did. Catching up on, I watched a lot of horror over the weekend, quite a bit. We'll talk a little bit about that, but there's a lot of entertainment stories we wanted to get to. But first and foremost, Shah, uh, we were telling people for the last couple of weeks. Oh, shout out to the Bayou Geeks there. Shout out to him, of course. Thank you for joining us. We were telling people for weeks that we were highly excited over the weekend because we knew we were getting a couple of films that we wanted to check out. Of course, shout out to Chris Matthews. I'm talking about one movie in particular. There was a lot of movies that dropped, Shah. A lot of movies that hit Hulu and Peacock. But one thing we didn't mention it in the pre-show there, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit. But there's a couple of horror movies we just want to get out of the way as we've been just rolling in horror for the whole month of October. But if you have the Shudder Network or access to the Shudder Network, there was an Argentina movie, Argentina. How do you say that? You think Argentinian?
Yeah, I think Argentinian. Yeah.
Argentinian release that was sort of burning up everybody's best of list. When Evil Lurks. When Evil Lurks. Oh, shout out to Marquise. When Evil Lurks hit Shudder, it was in theaters for a few weeks. I would have liked to have seen it in a theater. And you, myself, and B. Show Brian, we all watched it. Necromaniacs, the fantastic Necromaniacs podcast, is doing a deep dive. I believe it came out today. A huge review on the film. I'm going to listen to it tomorrow very early in the morning. They're going to be doing a deep review. We are not going to talk too much about it because we really want to talk about it with B. Show Brian. Because whenever all three of us see a movie, it's always a good conversation. But Shah and I wanted to just give a quick, not review, but just a quick vibe check on how we felt about this film and whether or not it lived up to the hype. Shah, briefly, did it live up to the hype for you? And is it as advertised?
I think so. I think it's my favorite horror movie of the year. It surpassed Infinity Pool and Talk to Me. Wow. So those are my top three so far. This being number one. And honestly, like, I've become like a mascot for this movie. Like, I've hit up everybody on my fucking Facebook. I'm like, yo, you got to go get Shudder and watch this. Just go watch it. Go watch it. Go watch it. So I don't mind holding off the review for another week and just kind of advertising this for another week for people to watch. Like, go watch this. I'm telling you, this is something special. This is, not to overhype it to the point where you think this is something that you've never seen, like anything like this before or anything as magnificent. But for an independent horror movie, I think this really set the bar, man. I like, this is, whoever did this movie, they have a future, like, for sure. This created enough hype, dude. There's a lot of hype around this movie. Every horror forum I'm on, it's this poster. Every post is this red Evil Lurks poster. Have you guys seen this? You got to see this. You got to see this. Craziest possession movie since The Exorcist. So I think just the sheer fact that there's so much support and interest in this film, I'm curious to see what these people are going to do. I don't even know who the director is, but whoever made this, I'm curious to see what they have in store for us next. Because I mean, this was dope, man, and I didn't expect it. We didn't even know this existed until they were like, yo, this is coming out in 2 weeks. Check it out. We're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, we kind of backed into this movie. Like, none of us knew really anything about it.
Yeah.
I would probably say everything that you just said. I don't know, like, word for word. I have the same top three of you for the year. Everything about it. I mean, I talked to my brother Mike from Necromaniacs about it. He said it's the best film he's seen all year, easily. I don't know about the other two guys, Jeff and Mike on Necromaniacs. Uncle Creepy, I believe, our good friend, producer extraordinaire of Terrifier, which we'll be discussing later on Patreon, also echoed these sentiments that this was easily probably the best horror film of the year, or one of the top films. I will say this, Shah, I don't want to talk too much about the movie, but I would tell people, if you are the type of person that feels that things don't live up to the hype, horror this year is letting you down, you hate the Blumhouse shit, you hate the jump scare shit, you should spend the money on the Shudder for the month or the free trial just to watch this one movie. And while you're there, watch VHS 85 and Hell House LLC, the Carmichael House, whatever. But Shah, I don't think anything's topping this. I would be shocked if we saw a better horror film in the next 2 months. And I haven't felt this way about a horror movie since Martyrs. Like honestly, like I was, and
It moved you, yeah.
right? Did you get a Martyrs vibe from this? Like just the heaviness and the fucking uncomfortableness of it.
I mean, it's to the average audience, I would say this is a very disturbing movie. It's a gore fest. There's a lot of gnarly fucking kills in there. Yeah. All around, it's got every single thing that I want in a formula for a great horror movie. It has everything. It looks good. There's practical effects. It's dark. Yes. It's original. Like it's violent and gross. You know, like it lives up to everything that I like in horror movies.
Can I ask you a question? I was very impressed by the acting. I thought the acting was superb.
Yeah. And for the people that don't like subtitles and stuff, man, I mean, dude, it's
suffer through it.
It's worth some of the best films you're missing out on because you don't want to read.
Oh yeah,
do it. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
because I know that turns a lot of people off when they hear that it's a
I know.
movie.
I know I have friends that will not watch movies with subtitles. It makes me furious, especially these amazing Asian films, the French horror, early stuff of the 2000s. My God, like these incredible Korean movies. I mean, Jesus, the Kashimike movies from Japan, on and on and on and on. I will say this. It is not for everyone. It is very, it is just I would say the word unflinching, which I don't think I'd really use. It is, I watched it a second time the next day and I was kind of a little fucked up from it. And I think B-Show, I'm not going to speak for the B, but I think B-Show, it was a heavy movie to carry in your head, right? Like it's bleak, honestly.
No, I agree, man. I agree. I think, it's really hard. Like possession movies are the one. I feel like possession and zombie films are two of the subgenres of horror that have been literally like beat to death. There's just nothing left in it. And this was very refreshing. Like this is a refreshing take on it. It's very different, and I really appreciated that. I didn't want to go into it, with a Argentinian exorcist. I didn't want to see that.
It's not a ripoff of anything at all.
No. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is that somebody managed to create something original out of a concept that's been beaten to death. Like, how many possession? I mean, even back in the day, like Beyond the Door, right? Like that was the Italian ripoff of Exorcist. And during that time, there was a million Exorcist movies, and that genre was beaten to death. Now, ever since like Exorcism of Emily Rose and
good movie.
There's just so many of them, right? I mean, that's one of the only good ones that they've done.
Yeah.
Aside from that, the rest of them are pretty trash. I mean, we just had the Pope's Exorcist, which I heard was okay. I'm not. It's probably not my type of movie, but like, you see what I'm saying? Like every year we get 2 or 3 of these, and they're all very mediocre and just a watered down version of The Exorcist. So,
for sure,
this was very, very good.
Yeah, this reminded me of so many different elements of classic horror movies and foreign horror movies. I felt like it had like a French, like that early French 2000 vibe. I felt like it had, a Japanese vibe. I felt like it had a little bit of the Italian vibe. Original story, just completely original story. Tremendous performances. The special effects, so
good.
Effects. So good. Please, if you don't take our word for it, 100% get Shudder on a free trial for 3 days and watch this movie. Shout out to Terrell T. And of course, Joe Punches dropping in. He saw the movie. He said, "This is from Joe Punches. I'm at work. Just drop by to say hi. I will re-listen when I get home." And the movie was fan-fucking-tastic. He wrote tasting, but I know he meant no spoilers, but several scenes left me uncomfortable, like Hereditary uncomfortable. Yes.
Absolutely.
And of course, shout out to Emmanuel Rojas, my friend.
And that's a great comparison. Like this made me feel like Hereditary. Like Hereditary was very refreshing to me because I hadn't liked the horror movie in so long, because everything was so Blumhouse-esque, like it had that, blue tint to every movie and just cheap scares and CGI. And when I saw Hereditary, I was like, this is, I feel uncomfortable with this movie. This is not, this I don't want to say it scared me, like I couldn't go to sleep, but
No,
like
no, it's not scary.
during watching the
Well,
movie, I'm like,
it's a little,
oh,
it's a little frightening. It's frightening.
yeah, I'm like
It's
during the
frightening.
movie, I was like, wow, this, especially like the ending of Hereditary, like that, I felt very uncomfortable with that. I was like, I don't know what I just saw, but I liked it, but my body didn't like it. Like my insides did not like this.
Yeah, I remember
You know?
walking out of Hereditary being really uncomfortable. And Martyrs, when I saw it, like I said this to my brother Mike, I said, I love Martyrs so much, I can never watch it again because it makes me, I have a physical reaction to Martyrs. Like I'm so, like I can't, like it's just too much. Like it's just like it's so much. Watch the movie, judge for yourselves, and don't be mad if you can't sleep or you have trouble functioning during the course of the day.
Honestly, dude, I would say this is better than Martyrs. I think this is a better film than Martyrs.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, the opening and ending to Martyrs is just like, oh, like, like that
Yeah.
slashing in the beginning of Martyrs where she's just slashing her back, and you
See,
don't
the
know
only
what
thing
the
I didn't like
fuck
about
going on.
Martyrs is like the first half of the movie. It seems like one of those cheap, shitty scare movies. Like it seems like a possession movie.
Until you see what the plot is. Yeah.
Right. And then it turns up, and you're like, oh, I'm into this. Because when I first watched Martyrs, I'm like, oh, dude, I'm not gonna like this. Like this is gonna be a ultra gore fest of a film, but it's just gonna be some possessed girl like killing. I was like, I'm not.
Oh yeah, it was so much deeper than that.
Yeah, it's nothing like. Yeah.
I would say Inside is like that for me.
I've never seen that.
Oh, you would lose your mind.
I've never seen that.
You've heard of it though.
That's the French one, right?
Oh
like
yeah, it's in the French wave there. It's in there.
Yeah, never seen it.
I'll just give you a brief premise. It's a woman alone in a house who's like 8 months pregnant, and someone is trying to violently stab and kill her, and is violently and is going after her in the house. You don't know anything. It's just I'm underselling it, but check out When Evil Lurks. It'll probably be all of our favorite film for the rest of the year, and definitely check out the Necromaniacs doing the deep dive afterwards. Also, I would recommend, if you're a little skittish on the movie afterwards and don't have the intestinal fortitude to watch it again, look up a lot of the theories on YouTube, the fan theories. Shah, I don't know if you did that. I did a huge dive on that. I went down the black hole.
I always do that to films, that like the art house films, because I always knew like every scene means something. Everything is for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I did the same thing with this one, and I did the same thing with No One Can Save You, the alien invasion.
Oh
film.
Yeah, I did that too. Yeah, you recommend
like,
that.
Yeah, dude. Once you see other people's perspectives, you're like, oh shit, like I missed that. I completely missed that. You know? So it's dope.
Yeah, I won't probably watch When Evil Lurks again because I like it's just too much. But Joe Puncher says take a shower or watch a comedy afterwards. Chris Matthews says Martyrs completely messed me up and Inside was crazy. Yeah, I think you know what we'll do down the road. We'll get together with B and we'll do maybe for Patreon. But we'll do a special episode where we only talk about the most uncomfortable, unsettling horror films that we've ever seen.
Yeah, we should.
We're talking about like, you know what I mean, Shah, like the ones that just go, oh, I really don't know how I feel about this.
If I'm being honest with you, though, when it comes to uncomfortable films, I would argue that most uncomfortable films, or most films that have made me feel uncomfortable, weren't even horror movies. They were dramas.
Yeah.
That's when I feel uncomfortable. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Those foreign dramas, like fucking...
What was that? The movies and fucking
like shit like that. The cook, the
Tasha
thief,
Miike movies, like
yeah.
Tasha Miike doesn't really make horror movies. Like he doesn't. You know what I mean?
I mean, even Solo, like Solo.
Dude, Old Boy's an uncomfortable fucking movie, bro.
Yeah,
maybe the #1 of all time. I mean, like it's not a horror movie. Ichi the Killer's not a horror movie. I don't know what the fuck.
No, they're all thrillers. Yeah, they're like thrillers.
Yeah. The Killers.
What was that one Takeshi Miike movie? The really weird one with the incest.
Oh God, there's so many weird. Oh, with the mother and Q.
Yeah, Visitor Q. Visitor Q. Very uncomfortable film.
Oh, it's an uncomfortable
shit.
Gozu's uncomfortable too. Gozu where they put the head of the pig on the foot. Yeah. Takeshi Miike is probably pound for pound the most uncomfortable film, like the kind of filmmaking you go, is he still doing this? Oh God. The thing he did for Masters of Horror, where they had all
Oh,
the
it's so good, dude. That's my favorite one out
a
of them.
lake of aborted fetuses in the fucking lake.
What was it called? Oh man, I have it here. I have the
I
box.
know. I remember we sold it in the store. It was like so uncomfortable.
It's crazy because it's not widely available anywhere. That was the only way to get it. Like it's
Yeah, it was like something with the religious thing. I saw it a long time ago. Oh, the Tetsu series. Yeah, Tetsu's very. I know. Passion of the Christ, Emmanuel. 100%. I could not get through. Dude, I shut off Passion of the Christ and I had to rewatch it again. I couldn't.
Yeah,
it was too much. I
I
couldn't take that shit. I was just like, oh my god. It's just like, please. Yeah, maybe we'll do uncomfortable movies.
Yeah,
movies that made us think that maybe we're in a simulation.
Movies that made us want to take a cold shower.
So one of the things we wanted to mention, because we did talk about this, and unfortunately B isn't here. Also, Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, this is fucking. I don't even know how to talk about this. So I had said Five Nights at Freddy's was going to be bigger box office than both Saw and The Exorcist about 2 months ago, because I just felt like, it's very popular. It has like a lot of, has a built-in audience and stuff like that as far as box office goes. Now, we need to point out, Shah, that Five Nights at Freddy's not only did well, killed it at the fucking box office. It is now grossed somewhere in the neighborhood worldwide 152 million. And it was available on Peacock the same day. This is with a movie streaming on a fucking service in theaters, and it did 152 million. How the fuck is this possible? I think it did 78 million in North America, and what was that? 78 million, I think 130. 78 million in North America and 130 globally. This is, it's breaking records, Shah. It's actually breaking records.
That's just about as much as The Exorcist did, right?
No, it killed The Exorcist.
No, because I thought The Exorcist did 150 globally.
Did it?
Yeah, that's what we talked about last week.
Let's see.
It did I think it did. But regardless, I mean, this surprises me, but at the same time, it doesn't, because this movie is very much like a teenager movie. Because you and I, again, I don't know Five Nights. I don't know the game. I never played it.
Yeah, but I knew it.
But I understand the younger crowd. That's definitely geared towards them. And I mean, putting it out Halloween, solid ass fucking time to put it out.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't surprise me that so many people went to see it, because, it's Halloween. People want that theater experience, I feel like, even though.
For sure.
But
Shah was also streaming on Peacock. Oh, shout out.
That's what I mean, though. But it's Halloween. You want to see that movie in the theater. You want to dress up in a costume, show up to the theater. Like it's, I wonder how many people dressed up as the Freddy characters and went to the theater.
I didn't see any pictures of that. So it's a $20 million flick, bro. NBC Universal. It's phenomenal success with just 3 days. Surpassed the entire global earning of Halloween Ends, which was 2022 of 104 million. And it's set to take over Halloween Kills 133 million. Notably, these are established franchise. It's a big deal for Blumhouse. I know we're not big Blumhouse people here, though, but it's a huge deal for Blumhouse. It's a major attraction on Peacock. It looks like it drove subscribers there, which is a big deal. This is a freak success. Now, I watched it, and I fell asleep, and then I watched it again. It picks up a little bit, but it's a very slow-moving, dark, not a lot happening film. A little too PG-13 for me, which I think it is PG-13. I just don't know. You have not seen it, right, Shah?
No, I've yet to see it. I don't have. What is it? Paramount? Is it on Paramount?
Paramount. No, it's a Peacock.
Peacock. Yeah, I don't have Peacock, so
okay.
I haven't seen it yet. But after Killers of the Flower Moon, I plan on seeing this in the theater if it's still available.
Yeah, I don't know how it'll do this weekend, but it has. It's pretty crazy. Now, actually, Forbes did an article and said it has one of the biggest critic audience box office gaps of all time. I think there's a 25% gap between the critic score. Oh my God, Shah, the critic score is 28%, and the audience score is 89%. What the fucking fuck is that?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you, man. The critics are adults that actually appreciate probably film, and the people that are voting that this was a good movie are probably the teenagers that grew up with this, Like it makes sense to me. It makes sense that because I feel like 90% of the crowd that went to see this is probably teenagers, like people.
It was something like 62% were under 25.
Yeah,
Which is
that makes
impressive.
sense.
Yeah, I mean, the younger generation, this is something they grew up with, that they knew, and they played the game, and it's pretty impressive. Again, not good. It's not terrible. I think the characters looked good, but it's a very wooden, stiff, dark movie. Like just dark in terms of I can't see anything. I didn't
Blumhouse,
think
dude.
very Blumhousey.
Name one Blumhouse film that's not shot completely in the dark with a blue tint.
Yeah, yeah. And
Every
Slade
single
Beats, I
film.
did get new glasses. These are my new Prada glasses. Thank you.
Yeah.
Joe Punches says it's a popcorn movie, PG-13, little gore. It's okay. And I told my brother Mike, I think was checking out. I think he shut it off after an hour because nothing happened. Because it was Halloween weekend. But it is a success. I mean, there's no getting around it. They'll make more. It's one of the biggest openings, I think, for a Blumhouse movie. It's one of the biggest openings for Halloween weekend. That kind of thing, Shah. I mean, these are things you can't really ignore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting this to be, I don't know, man, 10 movies out of this. Like, I mean, they could really drag this out for years to come, because that video game is a big deal, man. If we have like 17 Resident Evils, best believe we're gonna get 17 of these,
Yeah. I mean, if you have Peacock, it's worth, if you can get through it. It's very chatty. It's like gaga, it's like gaganon, as we say in Sicilian, like gaga, don't stop talking. It's missable. But I thought the characters looked pretty cool. I thought they just looked cool. I never played the game. And obviously, they tapped into something here. One of the other things for the weekend box office was Killers of the Flower Moon lost 61% of the opening weekend audience and only did in the neighborhood domestically $9 million. Now, that's not very good. I think it's going to be probably a box office flopperooski in terms of money. There's no way they're recouping this money back. I can't imagine how they'll ever come close to recouping this. What did we say? The budget was like 125 million or something like that. It was outrageous.
Yeah, it was like 130 something.
130. They're nowhere near that. You surprised? Not surprised? Do you think that's not a big deal? A big deal?
I'm not really surprised, man, because this type of movie isn't going to be a huge hit at the theater. I feel like. I think the length time scares people. 3.5 hours is a lot to invest. Again, you mentioned this last week that because it's almost 4 hours long, it's not going to be played as many times. It's not going to get as many slots as a Five Nights at Freddy's. It's just not. This is going to play maybe 3 times a day on a weekend. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. 3 is probably 4.
You can't do more than that.
Well, if you want, there are people. I used to go to midnight movies. I'm sure you have plenty. The thought of going to see this at 11 or 12 at night and getting out of the theater at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning.
I mean, they can't even do that because then they would have to keep the staff till 4 a.m. Whereas usually they're out by 2 a.m.
They'll probably shut this down about 9 or 10, and then, it is considered a flop shot, and unfortunately, we are very off on the budget and the box office. I think a $200 million movie.
Oh wow!
And it's only done. It's roughly globally at 87 million after 2 weeks. That's not great.
I'm telling you though, this is the type of movie that would still make that money back once it comes out on physical and streaming. Because this will get a Criterion version, I guarantee you. Criterion, they work with Martin Scorsese.
Yeah,
that they'll sell thousands and thousands of those. I don't know how much of that it'll make up for the box office, but over time, I feel like this will be considered a success over time.
Yeah, and Joe Punches points out some theaters added intermissions and they are getting sued by the studios. They are not allowed to. How do you feel about that? The theaters, without permission, deciding to give it a pause.
I feel like Martin Scorsese probably wouldn't be cool with that. that dude is.
The studio, you can't do that. You need permission. You just can't do that.
I've never been to a film that did that. I always was under the impression that was like an older concept. Like they just don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I feel like I might have. I can't remember. It might have been a porn. They just needed to clean the place up. Right. Joe Punches points out, that, Chris Matthews was talking about Five Nights at Freddy's there. Stepson loves the game. Slave Cheeks is saying they concerned about Napoleon. Are we concerned about Napoleon? No, I think it's a very different vibe. I think Joaquin Phoenix is pretty high with people in spite of the Beau is Afraid movie. People still look at him as the Joker. They know that's coming out next year. They know he's a star. They know Ridley Scott is very, even though he had a pretty big bomb a couple of years ago with that movie during COVID, which was a disaster. I don't think so. I don't think they're worried about it. Too many big budget movies, Slave Cheeks. What do you think, Shah? I think we'll find out if this and Ferrari, if Ferrari and if Ferrari and Napoleon fail to turn profits at the box office or really underperform, could it be the hangover of Oppenheimer? Who, my brother Mike pointed out, is like the only reason it probably had that big bump was the Barbie push. We had to make up for a big portion of that 950 mil.
Yeah, 100%. They got lucky with that, man. That went viral because it was a concept on TikTok. People had shirts made for it. It was, it was a moment in pop culture. Napoleon, honestly, I think that's going to do just as bad as this because that's a long, dude, it's a long movie. It's a long movie. Phoenix is big, but so is DiCaprio. So is De Niro.
Scorsese and De Niro. Yeah,
right. So that kind of scares me. I think overall these films though they'll go down as like masterpieces and they'll make a shit ton of a ton of money eventually. But I don't know, man. I feel like last year we really popped with horror. Like last year was the year where like left and right you just had fucking instant classics coming out. This year I feel like towards the end of the year we're gonna get a lot of like masterpiece war and dramatic films. Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon. You had Oppenheimer. You're gonna have Ferrari coming out.
Yeah.
Poor Things is still coming out. Like
Poor Things. That's right. Yeah, that'll be out before the end of the year. I forgot. Yeah, and that's black and white. Poor Things, isn't it? That's a black and white movie.
No, it's a mix. Oh,
it is a mix. Okay, I thought it was a black and white movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Dude, that's five fucking heavy hitters.
Heavy movies. Yeah, some of them are historical. Like Slave Cheek says, kids are probably not into history movies, I suppose. But Oscar buzzes will get them some more box office, which is true, which Slave Cheeks points out. But it's strange because I actually thought Killers of the Flower Moon would continue to do well on word of mouth. It is the kind of movie most people that saw it immediately told people to go see the film. Didn't seem to help. I will say this, Shah. Do you think people will look back and go, the thing that fucked that movie with the box office was Halloween? It was the fact that they put it out a week before Halloween at a time, and it got clubbed to death by a video game movie from Blumhouse.
No, I honestly think it's just the runtime, dude. I think it's the runtime, and it's that same Oppenheimer crowd that would have to go see this film.
Mm-hmm.
And they apparently didn't show up. I just think the movie is too long at the movie theater. Like I love Scorsese. I'm kind of dreading seeing this in the movie theater though. But I want to. Really? But it's just so long.
You need to see it in the theater though, dude.
Yeah. I feel like this is a movie that 100% you need that theater experience and it'll benefit from that. But it's just that's a big commitment, man. 3.5 hours, and you got trailers, and you got to show up 10 minutes. I mean, you're looking at 4 and some change before you get back in your car. This is
a
big investment, man. It's half your day.
Yeah, it is, but it's worth it. And I definitely think people should check it out. It's totally worth it. As far as these are not movies you get to see in theaters all the time. That's my vibe. But it did take a pounding. It took an anal pounding with no Vaseline, just a match and a little bit of gasoline. If I may quote the old Ice Cube there. But so 2024, Emmanuel Ross is saying, is it the year of historical films? Well, I mean, if Oppenheimer cleans up at the box office the way it cleans up at the Academy Awards, and Napoleon and Ferrari, I mean, it's rare that we get these kind of biopics all in the same year, isn't it? Especially these top-notch directors like Michael Mann and Martin Scorsese and Christopher Nolan. We just don't get these. You just don't get that a lot.
Yeah, Napoleon also.
Yeah, Ridley Scott.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess in a way it is kind of rare to get 4 of them almost in a row. In a year. But I feel like we got a decent amount of them. We got more so like singers. We had Freddie Mercury. What was that, 2 years ago?
Well, yeah, Oppenheimer beat that and that won the Academy Award and for
Elvis we had last year, I think.
Yeah, we've been doing. Yeah, the Elvis movie did really well. Any year other than that, that kid would have probably won Best Actor if the Whale didn't happen.
Oh,
You know.
don't forget that new A24 movie with Elvis's daughter. It's called
Oh,
President.
Sofia Coppola. That's
That's
Sofia
coming out.
Coppola's movie. Yeah, it's supposed to be kind of hard movie. It doesn't make
That's
Elvis look
another.
very good. It's
Yeah.
all from the perspective of a teenage Priscilla Presley. I will probably check that out because it's Elvis. But there's, I'd like to get back to the movies this weekend. But Shao, I want to switch gears here a little bit because a report came out in the last 24 hours from Variety magazine that was very unflattering to what we now refer to as the MCU, your favorite cinematic universe. What am I talking about? The Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel next week will be putting out its only other film outside of Guardians, which did about $850 million this year. Marvel will be putting out the sequel to Captain Marvel, which did very well at the box office, but did not do very well with a lot of fans that coined the phrase the MCU. This was sort of, a lot of people take this the beginning of Marvel kind of pivoting away from like the traditional stories and to kind of tell different stories and maybe bring out some different characters. So a lot of people responded poorly to that, because they felt the quality of some of the things they were putting out in the name of diversity was just weak, and they were just counting on more, just basically doing diverse movies for the sake of diversity without the quality behind them. But this article in Variety is pretty damning. It covers a lot of ground, and it does not make Marvel look very good. So there's like a 4 or 5 prong attack here on Marvel. The first thing is one of the things I want to talk about was Blade. Now, Blade has been in. You've seen the old Blades, right? They were great.
Yeah, I've seen the first one and I think the third one with Triple H. So
with Guillermo del Toro did what, the second one? Or no, he did not Del Toro. What's his face?
did he? I didn't.
Yeah, he did one of the Blades.
Really?
Yeah, David Goyer, I think, did the third one. Guillermo del Toro, I think, possibly did the second one. But those were the first. Blade was a Marvel movie. It was an R-rated movie. Wesley Snipes. It was fucking great. I loved Blade.
Yeah,
I saw it
Blade
in
2.
theaters.
Right. Yeah, Blade
He
2.
did the second one, Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've never seen the original Blade. I've seen
Oh, it's
Blade
good.
2 and 3. That's what I've seen. Because I remember this
Yeah.
poster. I've seen this one. So
Yeah.
2 and 3 I've seen. I haven't seen the first one.
So they're rebooting it with Mahershala Ali, Academy Award-winning actor, maybe one of the best actors out there. This guy is fantastic in everything. I don't know what he did most recently, but he might be a multiple Academy Award winner for supporting and lead. No, he might have he's got at least one Academy Awards. He was nominated back to back for Green Book, and I can't remember that other movie he was nominated for. But he's fantastic. He was in The Last True Detective. The guy's a powerhouse actor. He's world-class actor. He did one of the voices in the Spider-Verse for the first one. I think he played Miles Morales' uncle. Guy's great. Guy's fantastic. So one of the reports that came out was Blade and why Blade is having a problem. So this is what, according to the insider at Variety, Mahershala Ali was ready to exit Blade over script issues. The story at one point reportedly morphed into a narrative led by women and filled with life lessons. Blade was relegated to the 4th lead. Logan writer Michael Green has been hired to restart the script from scratch. That's a bad look, don't you think? Because that sort of kind of encompasses a lot of the critiques of the Marvel Disney universe and where it is. You get this guy. Now, Shah, we should also point out that Mia Goth has been added to the Blade universe as the female lead. So it's quite possible that this could have been a vehicle for Mia Goth. So basically, the thought process is that it's going to go to Blade's niece or his daughter or something, and that Blade would be in the background. And you don't get an Academy Award actor like this to have him take a back seat. So they had to get rid of the people attached to it initially, and then they brought in the guy who wrote Logan. Shah, now you are very critical of the Disney and the Marvel universe dominating the box office. Bad look, right? I mean, someone like you who might watch a Blade movie sees that and goes, yeah, fuck this.
Right, exactly. Because like Blade would probably be one of the only franchises that Disney and Marvel is doing that a person like me would go watch, right? And then if I get an experience like that out of it, it's just going to annoy me even more. But I can't believe that they wanted to turn Blade into a fucking life lesson. Like, yo, we have to stop this, man. This is like, come on, bro. Come on, man.
Yeah, and Brother Monty said it was for Green Book. He won. Yeah, that's a fantastic movie. And Chris Matthews, he was nominated for Moonlight. I'm sorry.
Moonlight's
Yeah, and he was also in Luke Cage. That's right. The guy's in a lot of shit. The guy's fantastic. But you hear this shot and you go, yeah, that sounds like a Disney Marvel movie.
Sounds about right. Yeah, that's what I would expect nowadays.
Yeah,
and that's what the complaint. Everybody's saying that these woke movies, like it is. I'm starting to see a trend in there. You know, like beforehand, I thought a lot of people were reaching. Now I'm like, dude, you're doing a little too much, man. We don't need this in every property. We don't need this.
Well, here's another thing. I just want to mention a couple of them. The Marvels. Now, they brought in, I think, Nikki DaCosta. I liked her Candyman. I thought it was pretty good. I like that movie. I like the Candyman reboot. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. A lot of people didn't. She's a relatively newer director. She's very young. They gave her the the Captain Marvel franchise. And here's one of the issues with that. Now, this movie might be a disaster, might not be a disaster. We'll find out next week. The Marvels received middling reviews at a public test screening this year. While it was still in post-production, director Nia DaCosta, not Nikki, Nia DaCosta moved away to start working on her next film. A source says if you're directing a $250 million movie, it's kind of weird for the director to leave with just a few months to go. Now, in fairness to Nia DaCosta, my understanding is this is not that unusual. However, Marvel, something like this, you're a young person getting a Marvel franchise, you might want to stick around. I don't know. There's a lot of speculation this is going to tank at the box office because Brie Larson always looks like she's smelling a fart off camera. The movie looks like it's completely the MCU. Even the villain is a female character that they created just to not have a male character. It's all three different versions of Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel. One of them being the Muslim character, Kamala, who is the comic book's great. I like that character. And then
sounds awful.
Yeah. Then they have the what the hell's her name? Lambeau. I forget her first name. There was a black Ms. Marvel in the 80s who replaced Marvel, the Captain Marvel, Monica Lambeau. She is one of the stars of the movie. She's only really been that character in the TV show Scarlet Witch. And then, of course, Brie Larson always looks like she's smelling a fart. Very wildly unpopular with a huge portion of the audience. Shah, this is a $250 million movie. They need to have a massive opening. And it looks like it's going to track pretty poorly. This could be a big Marvel bomb. Marvel really don't bomb. They underperform. What do you think about when you hear stuff like this, that they look like they're just putting it out and hoping that the diversity of it will save maybe the poor sort of film?
Well, it makes me want to throw up in my mouth a little bit, but other than that, I feel like Marvel feels like they have this cult following, which they do.
Yeah.
Which the people will blindly support them regardless of what the movie is or how bad it is. But I mean, they do need to slow down eventually, and I hope that they at least stop fucking up all these franchises and making them quote unquote woke. I hate that word, but like it is very much what they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Blade is one of those that I had high hopes for. This was the one that I would have actually watched.
This guy's lights out good. I mean, he's almost 50 years old. I don't think you give Blade to a 50-year-old guy. I don't know. Like,
when is it coming out?
Wesley Snipes, he's what, 60? I mean, give it to Wesley Snipes at this point if you're going to give it to Mahershala Ali. But this is this is pretty incredible, this story. I don't know if you saw this or not. Shout out to a Galactic Wrestling Federation, good friends there. Marvel is reportedly looking at bringing back the original Avengers cast with Iron Man and Black Widow being revived. Although they have yet to commit to the idea, it is in discussion because of some of the poorer performances of its most recent properties. Shah, can you imagine if they have to go back like 15 years to when this all sort of kicked off, or 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and revive it because they are failing to recreate that magic all over again? Not a good look.
No, not a good look at all. Obviously, I don't follow Marvel like you do. Have they been failing recently? Is this starting to be a trend in Marvel
Some
movies?
underperforming. Yeah, well, Guardians of the Galaxy is far from a failure, but however, that ended
Yeah, I
on good
remember that
terms.
being. Yeah, I remember
Eight hundred,
that in
and it's
Spider-Man, right?
fantastic. But they lost James Gunn forever. He's gone.
Yeah,
Ant-Man and the Wasp, the Quantum Verse, grossly underperforms. Um, the TV shows, I think the Loki show that just opened to almost a 30% decrease from one season to the next. Um, the She-Hulk TV show, which a lot of people hated, thought it was just the epitome of the pandering. Uh, $25 million per episode. The Secret Invasion, the worst performing thing Marvel's ever put out. I didn't even finish it. It was so bad, and it's one of my favorite storylines. It really is. It's one of my, with Sam Jackson as that lead. Couldn't get through it. They turned a storyline out of a great storyline into another sort of women empowerment and all this other stuff. They're not listening. I think the writing's on the wall. I think women empowerment and bolstering minorities in these films is very important, but the movies need to be good, Shah. You just can't say, "Hey, I'm going to do an Ethiopian dwarf with Down syndrome is going to be Hulk." And if you don't
right.
like it, it's because you don't like Ethiopians, dwarfs, or Down syndrome. You can't shame people into poor quality things. I think that may have worked a couple of years ago, clearly. But I don't think it's a good long-term strategy to just say, here's an Eskimo, here's an Aborigine, here's a trans Taiwan former prostitute, and here's a morbidly obese Croatian. They're the new Fantastic Four, and if you don't like it, you're a fascist and a Nazi. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also think a lot of their concepts. I mean, again, I don't watch a lot of these, but just talking about them on the show, it seems like a lot of it is just copy and paste at this point. And the problem with that is, for obvious reasons, you start to just make content instead of making art. Like film is a form of art. When you have to push out 75 shows and all these films every year, it just becomes content. There's no love and passion behind it. It's just, and I was actually watching the making of Thor the other day because it just popped up on YouTube, like the autoplay. It just played right afterwards, and I was watching it. It's the amount of CGI made me want to throw up, man. They CGI a fucking chair in there. I'm like, dude, come on. Like, there's just nothing is real. Nothing is real.
Well, the problem is they farm out the CGI now. This is something that started about 2 years ago. They farm out the CGI. It goes to the lowest bidder to finish the movies. They didn't used to do that.
That's terrible.
Yeah. And this is Disney doing that.
Ugh.
Your brother Monty said, you guys think it's forced upon? Yeah, well, yeah, clearly, some of it's not very well thought out. Will T, shout out to Will T. Disney somehow greenlit and filmed Agatha and Echo, yet struggling with Blade and Daredevil. Now, Shah, here's a funny thing. You probably didn't hear this, but I went over the moon with this. The Daredevil show that they were shooting, that they shot a ton of it until the writer's strike. They shot like half of it. Was so bad, they fired everybody involved from the showrunner to the director. Do you know who they brought in to save it? You know who's now running Daredevil?
No.
Benson and Moorhead, the horror directors. They now have Daredevil.
The guys that were doing the
Synchronic, the guys who did those movies, yeah. They took over Daredevil. They are now directing the Daredevil TV show.
I'm not
they had to get indie guys because they needed good quality. Those guys make movies that maybe a lot of people have seen, but people have seen them and go, these are most original. I mean, you can imagine what those guys could do with a bunch of Marvel money with a character like Daredevil, who's just like a blind lawyer who's got Catholic guilt and bangs hot chicks and is getting killed by the Kingpin all the time. That's going to be incredible. But they had to bring these guys in. They worked on Moon Knight a little bit. They did a couple of episodes. These guys do their own movies. They're not part of the Hollywood system. I wouldn't consider those guys Hollywood guys at all. No chance.
Do you think they're just going to move on to Marvel stuff now?
No, I think, look, you know what they'll probably do, Shah? They'll take that money and they'll do another one of their own movies.
You think so? I'd be surprised, man. I feel like once you cross that path, there's no going back.
Yeah, but you don't have the creative freedom. And we've seen most of their movies.
Yeah.
Those aren't studio movies. Those are like independent movies.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what those guys are going to do with something like that? An R-rated Daredevil TV show? Jesus fucking Christ, dude. It's going to be insane. So, Marvel's taking the hits. Um, I'm very curious to see about Captain Marvel. I might still go see it because I like going to the movies. I might not. I might be one of the only ones I've ever missed. It might be the first one I don't see. Maybe an honest to God, Shah. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. This might be the first Marvel movie I haven't seen since ever since they started in
And you
2000.
typically catch all of them at the theater, right?
Yeah, because I got the Regal pass. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I don't know. Look, I love the medium so much. I feel like it's very successful, and it's easy to take a shit on things where they're successful. Marvel Studios is kind of like the Yankees. They make a lot of money. They're very popular, but doesn't mean they're very good. They're not going to win the World Series every year. And, now that James Gunn is gone, now that Robert Downey Jr. is gone, now that like Chris Evans is gone, unfortunately Chadwick Boseman died. That's not Marvel's fault. I have a feeling you're going to see that the Marvels is a hot mess, very clumsy, very dopey, a lot of dumb lines in it. And every scene I see has that very loud, obnoxious modern music over it. I can't stand that shit. I don't like that shit. I don't like loud, obnoxious, bad modern songs over weak dialogue. But let's see how Marvel rebounds. I don't know. They also have more money than God, and they have an AEW like cult like fan base. I would say, Shah, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, they blindly support them, regardless of what they put out. I mean, this is what happens when you have a machine, man.
Yeah.
Marvel's absolutely a machine. Disney's backing it. And people that weren't even Marvel fans, I feel like just because they joined Disney is an actual cult, bro. Like there's the people that fucking,
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, dude. It scares me. They have Disney weddings. It's all kinds of crazy. Yeah, don't watch anything, man. And it's just, quantity over quality. Like it is
quantity over quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but I also do, one of the things that concerns me is that like, if they don't steer the ship, right, the potential for things that could have been good, like this Blade movie, like hopefully this guy, like Logan, if you watched Logan, you'd be like, yo, that was fucking amazing. Logan's not a comic book movie, dude. Logan is like a desperate old man. There's very little comic shit in Logan. It's an R-rated movie. It's brutal. Everyone's dead. It's Logan like the last days of his life. Like driving, Logan is a fucking Uber driver practically. Like the dead Wolverine's an Uber. All the X-Men are dead. Everyone's dead. They're all dead. Mutants are gone. There's no superheroes. He's driving a fucking limo for bridal parties, and he doesn't have the adamantium is killing him. He's dying. His skin is poisoned. Professor Xavier has like some type of mental illness, and he's like a doddering old man. It's hyper violent, and the ending is the most bummer ending I've ever seen. Like it is like, oh, depressing. That's the guy they're giving Blade to. So I'm confident in that. Like Blade's going to be R-rated. Mia Goth is going to be in. This could be a great thing for Mia Goth. This is going to be the biggest thing she's ever done, and she's earned it. Nobody's earned getting into a big Hollywood movie more than Mia Goth. Maybe other than our other girl over there, who's now like, what's her face? Anna Taylor-Joy. But yeah, I'd like to see Marvel rebound. I think they need to stop listening to whoever's giving them this bad advice. And they should probably maybe bring in more people like Benson and Moorhead, those kind of guys. Maybe that's what it takes. Maybe that's what it takes. You got to bring in these horror type guys or indie guys to bring that aspect into these movies. Otherwise, look, the audience also shot, like, this audience got older, right? I mean, a lot of people grew out of these movies.
Yeah. I mean, it just, at the same time, again, not being a fan, I'm kind of biased because I don't want them to take up all these horror directors, because then that prevents me from seeing them work on other projects, So I get what you mean, though, for the overall longevity of Marvel films and the fandom of it, I guess it's better if they bring in some of these original independent guys. But it sucks for people like me because I would much rather see them do another movie like Synchronic or Resolution or whatever else they did. Obviously a guy like Ari Aster is never going to do a Marvel movie, but imagine if they did that. Like that would suck for me because that guy does a movie every 6 years, So if he's doing a Marvel movie, that means that I'm not going to get a movie out of this guy that I would like to see for like a decade plus.
Has he announced what his next move is? What's his next move?
I think he was.
I feel like they announced something for him.
Well, he produced that. He produced that Nicolas Cage movie.
Yes, the Nicolas Cage movie's coming out. So I'm excited to see that. When he's like,
that's coming out soon too. I think in 2 weeks, 2 3 weeks.
That's getting a pretpretty good push. That kind of looks like a Spike Jonze movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like one of those kind of movies. You know what it reminds me of every time I see the trailer? Being John Malkovich. It reminds me of that kind of a vibe.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I was talking about that a couple weeks ago.
You would love that movie. You would be all over that movie. You would watch that movie again and again. It's just for its time period too. There wasn't these artsy, famous people doing the art for the art's sake.
There's a lot of like surreal shit in it too, right? Like,
dude, it's a trip. Yeah. You got to take mushrooms and watch that movie. I can't believe you've never seen that movie.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Yeah, it kind of has a Terry Gilliam vibe.
I'll get it next time. I think Criterion has it. So the next time they go on sale, because Criterion does like a 50% off twice a year. So I just rack up all of them at Barnes and Nobles. So
really,
I'll look out for that. Yeah, Barnes and Noble they do a 50%, but I mean at 50% off, they're still $20 a piece.
Yeah. Well, because it's Criterion. I mean, they're not shit. What I mean? They're not meant.
There's some love put into every one of those releases.
Oh yeah. How many do you have at this point, Criterion movies?
Like 60 maybe.
Jesus Christ. What's the most expensive one you own? I'm just curious.
Out of Criterion?
Yeah. Because they get
none of them really, because they're all the same price.
Oh,
Criterion typically doesn't go out of print. Probably the Rosemary's Baby Criterion.
Oh wow.
That's out of print that I have. But other than that, everything I own is still in print. So, I mean, you could still buy it. So Criterion doesn't really get expensive because they never go out of print. So it's just.
Let me ask you something as a collector. I'm just been very curious about this because you're someone who views these as an investment, but also the art form is important to you, but they're investments, like in a lot of ways, right? Can you think of a time where you were going to buy something that was so over the top expensive that you had to stop yourself? Like you were about to hit the button and you were like, I can't do that. I just can't do it.
Yeah, there was which I'm still going to do it, honestly. I just have to save up for it. Lars von Trier just put out a box set of all of his films.
Oh my God.
It's a European release. I want to say it's from Germany.
What region is it that you can play it? It's got to be.
It's region 2, but I have a region free player, so I can import from any country. I can still play it here.
Shit, dude.
I think it was almost like $300, and I wanted to buy it so bad, but I had already spent so much money on because I just upgraded Hellraiser. I just bought this fucking Jurassic Park set.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that on the Patreon. I want to get into. That.
This is like almost $150 or whatever. So I didn't buy it, but it's such a gorgeous release that I'm still gonna buy it, man. I don't care. I'm still gonna buy it.
Well, that's a box set. I'm talking about like a single, like hard to find. Like this is the creme de la creme, the letterboxed edition, 6 hours of bonus material, only 3,000 made. Like what like was there ever one that you were like, I know this is fucked up. I'm just buying it. I'm just gonna buy it. Fuck it, and not think about it.
Yeah, let me actually bring it. Give me 1 second. I'll bring it
because I could say just to tell people this. Like I go through this where I try to I'll decide like, hey, I really want to buy this thing. Like I've seen sometimes with like figures or comic related properties where I'll go, oh, I really that Daredevil's really rare. I really think I could buy that $400 Daredevil statue. And then I'll put it in the cart, and then I'll go to hit enter, and I'll feel so guilty that I won't buy it. I want to see what you just busted out here before we go to the Patreon.
So this is the Possession movie. There's
Olowski. Oh, Sam Neill.
And it's like velvet.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's
Never seen
real
Never
crazy
seen the
looking.
movie.
This was almost like $100 for this one. It's just one movie, but I just had to have this package.
How many are there? Is it like a matter of not a lot made? Is that why it's 100?
Yeah, I think it's done. Yeah, these were limited, so it's done now, I believe. But another one was this Arrow release that I got, but it just, I mean, I've never seen anything like this. This is fucking
That's gorgeous.
I mean, for one movie, that's insanity. Actually, The Exorcist, they just did that on 4K, the original one, and in the UK, it came in a Bible, which you could have bought it.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, let me see if I can find it.
Really? I'd like to see that. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about The Exorcist, and there's certain things we only talk about on the Patreon because we like to play clips and stuff, and we can't do that here, unfortunately. So this would be a great week to go to the Patreon.
This is that Lars von Trier box set that I was talking
about. Wow.
Right?
Unbelievable. I wonder if my brother Mike's seen this before. This seems like something
gorgeous.
Wow.
But yeah, the other thing that I want to show is this one. Let's see this. This is the Gordon Lewis collection. It's got every single one of his movies.
Yeah, I don't think we weren't on video when you showed this.
And this was out of print when I bought it, so I had to get it from like eBay. And it comes in like a cereal box, but it's real hard, you know. It's like a nice.
How many movies?
It's like 28 or 29 movies.
My God.
Yeah, and just you open it, all of his movies are in here.
Did he do 10,000 Maniacs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wizard of Gore, 10,000 Maniacs.
Yeah. It comes with 1 million discs, and this is just one of them. There's 3 of them in here, and it comes with a book also. So.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That guy was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the OG grindhouse and exploitation guys.
Blood Feast. Yeah, the original Blood Feast.
Yeah.
They've remade some of his movies too. Wizard of Gore was remade. 10,000 Maniacs was remade. Blood Feast was remade. The guy was amazing. I mean, that guy was so ahead of his time. How those got made is kind of shocking, right? I mean, when you think about the 60s, he's got titties out there and eating entrails and shit. Like, people must have lost their shit watching those movies.
Yeah, he did a lot of sexploitation films. And I think he went on to the 70s, right? He stopped making, yeah.
Yeah,
I still haven't seen a lot of these, to be honest with you.
I think there's a documentary about him that I caught. He's a fascinating.
Yeah, it's in here too. Yeah.
Oh, the documentary. Yeah, the documentary, because he just seemed like a regular dude. Like this was just something. Like a lot of these guys are like they just backdoor into these things, which is fucking crazy. But listen, we got a bunch of stuff we want to play some clips on over at the Patreon. And so we're going to be heading over there in a little bit. So you're going to consider going to patreon.com/breaktheapp. $5 is going to get you tons and tons and tons of hours of exclusive content. Bonus shows, theme shows. My gosh, just a ton of shows, quite frankly. And so please consider heading over to the Patreon. And of course, hopefully we'll get our good friend, we'll get Mr. B. Show Brian back next week. It's sad that he wasn't here because I really wanted to talk to him about when evil lurks. But, check out the Necromaniacs episode. We'll throw them a plug in a second. But please check out Deathmatch Outlaws. And, of course, the Drew Yari Experience. Cassette Classics 86 on YouTube. The Down on the Thundercast. Don Tony. Necromaniacs Podcast. It is available now, that When Evil Lurks episode. So if you watch the film or if you want to learn more about that movie, great opportunity to check it out. They're doing a very deep dive on it. It's available right now. The Inhuman Experience Podcast, and of course, Ringsiders is returning for Survivor Series. Ringsiders Wrestling on YouTube. Mojo and Dirk's Most Dastardly Show. The Gardner Dude and the Old Guy Metalcast. Go to funkbetty.com. Our good friend, Mr. Ronald Anderson's putting out some fine threads. And I'm sure I'll have some wonderful things for the winter weather coming up soon. MJW Games. Cherry Jesus on YouTube and his band Kaiser. You definitely want to check him out. Sam, our good buddy over at the Red River Podcast, and his band Playing Dead. They just finished a video shoot. Bayou Geeks, that's Fatty 316. High Marks Podcast, the Midnight Mass Creature Cast, the Weekly Detour with Anthony Allison and Teddy, and of course the Guns and Geeks Podcast. Shah, what's happening on Planet Mono? You got anything for the kids this week?
To be honest with you, I'm getting sick right now, so I don't anticipate any content from me for the at least for 2 weeks, man. I feel like a bad cold is coming.
He's going.
Yeah, I'm going under, so I'm just being honest. I'm feeling like shit over here.
JB Bell. Yes, you missed the When Evil Lurks conversation, but it'll be available on the free. We'll have that on the free. We don't go that deep into JB Buff Bell. But Necromaniacs is doing a huge breakdown of that, and we'll be talking about it next week with the king of the Midwest himself, Mr. Bish O'Brien.
Yeah, I
So,
feel like next week let's do like a spoiler review. You know, we're giving people
we'll give you guys, of
plenty
course.
of time.
At this point, the movie's been out a little bit. Other people have discussed it. So, but JB Buff Bell, shout out to you, my friend. But yeah, you'll be able to hear that on the download, of course. And of course, thank you to the many Patreons. And we're gonna have our little bonus show coming out for you this weekend. And then I think we might be doing a Thanksgiving episode. Well, I haven't decided yet. So if not, we'll get that Q&A link out this week. And of course, thank you to the many people hanging out in the chat. We appreciate it. We'll see you guys next week at Spitball Media.
Peace.